So it looks like Star Trek IV might just be getting off the ground soon. There's some buzz going around about it because they've got a new writer on board. You know, the one that's supposed to wrap up the whole storyline with Chris Pine as Captain Kirk and the gang. It's been a while since we've seen them in action, like 8 years. That's the longest break between Star Trek movies since forever. But hey, this Variety article says there's hope for a reunion of the Kelvin Timeline crew. Fingers crossed that we'll be boldly going back to the theaters before too long. Now, before you jump to any conclusions about the struggles of Star Trek IV's development, let's dive into the chaos it's been facing. You see, several big-name filmmakers have tried to tackle the project, only to bow out due to creative differences. We're talking heavy hitters like Quentin Tarantino and Noah Hawley from Fargo. According to Variety's deep dive into the Star Trek universe, the journey to bring Captain Kirk back to the big screen has been quite the roller coaster. There was this idea of a movie reuniting Chris Pine's Kirk with his on-screen father, played by Chris Hemsworth, which sadly fell apart back in 2018. Then there was Tarantino, who teased us all with his take on a Star Trek movie set in the 1930s with gangsters, only to walk away from the project. And let's not forget Noah Hawley, who was all set to bring a fresh cast to the Star Trek universe until the studio slammed the brakes on his version in 2020. But wait, there's more drama. Just when it seemed like things were finally moving forward, Matt Shakman was supposed to direct the movie, but he dashed off to work on the Fantastic Four for Marvel instead. And to top it off, Abrams dropped the bomb about the return of the 2009 cast without even talking to them first. Ouch. Now there's talk of another Star Trek movie in the works, an origin story for the entire timeline, penned by Seth Grahame-Smith and directed by Toby Haynes. If that hits theaters before Star Trek IV, it could steal the spotlight. But let's be real here. What we're all really waiting for is for Chris Pine's Captain Kirk and the whole Starship Enterprise crew to grace the screen once again. With all that said, let's talk about why it's absolutely crucial for Star Trek IV to hit theaters in 2026. You see, it's not just about another installment in the series. It's about celebrating a monumental milestone for Star Trek. The franchise will be turning a whopping 60 years old, and that's a big deal. Back in 1996, when Star Trek hit its 30th anniversary, they pulled out all the stops with crossover episodes in Deep Space Nine and Voyager. But when the 40th anniversary came around, it kind of flew under the radar. Sure, Star Trek Beyond dropped in 2016 for the 50th anniversary, but now it's time to seize the moment. Star Trek IV has been stuck in development limbo for nearly a decade, despite the constant buzz from fans and the cast. But now, with the clock ticking towards the big 6-0, it's crunch time. This could be the ultimate send-off for Chris Pine's Enterprise crew, and it's got to happen before the anniversary passes. Think about it. Releasing Star Trek IV in 2026 would make it the centerpiece of the celebration. It's a chance to blend the old and the new, paying homage to the roots of the series while ushering in a new era for modern audiences. And let's face it, what better way to honor a legacy like Star Trek's than with a big blockbuster movie? Sure, Paramount Plus is gearing up with shows like Strange New Worlds, but nothing quite compares to the excitement of a big screen adventure. So while streaming may have its place in the celebrations, there's no denying that Star Trek IV in theaters would be the main event, capturing the hearts of fans old and new alike. Let's make it happen, folks. The 60th anniversary deserves nothing less. Now, with all these Star Trek movie rumors swirling around, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement. But before we set our phasers to stun, let's take a closer look. Rumor has it that there are not one, not two, but 4 Star Trek films in the works. That's right, 4. But here's the kicker. Fans might want to temper their enthusiasm a bit. You see, the sequel to Star Trek Beyond has been stuck in development limbo for nearly 8 years now. It's been pulled from Paramount's lineup, and there's no sign of it hitting production anytime soon. And then there's this talk about another J.J. Abrams produced flick, set way before the 2009 reboot. Interesting, right? But who knows if it'll materialize. But wait, there's more. There are also whispers of 2 spin-off movies floating around. One of them, Star Trek Section 31 starring Michelle Yeoh, is a go for Paramount Plus, which is exciting. But the details on the other one, possibly linked to Star Trek Picard, are a bit hazy. It's like trying to navigate through a nebula. you're not quite sure what you'll find. So Deadline back in January spilled the beans on a new Star Trek Origin movie. Word has it that Seth Grahame-Smith, the mind behind Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, is taking the writing reins, while Toby Haynes, known for his work on Star Wars Andor and Doctor Who, is set to direct. Exciting stuff, right? Now here's the twist. This movie is set to go down decades before the events of the J.J. Abrams Star Trek flicks. That means we're diving deep into the past of the Star Trek universe. And with J.J. Abrams' production company Bad Robot on board, it's likely to be tied to the Kelvin timeline. But hey, you never know with those timey-wimey shenanigans. As for the plot, well, your guess is as good as mine, but with Abrams involved, it could be a peek into the aftermath of the USS Kelvin attack. Or maybe it'll venture even further back in time. It's all up in the air for now. The fact that Grahame-Smith and Haynes are on board is a good sign that this isn't just some pipe dream. But let's not forget, we've seen promising talent attached to Star Trek projects before, only to watch them fizzle out. Oh, and speaking of Toby Haynes, did you catch his work on that Black Mirror episode, USS Callister? That alone should give us a taste of what he can bring to the Star Trek universe. So while there's no guarantee the original movie will hit the silver screen, it's got us intrigued. In the midst of all these swirling rumors, there's another one that's been making the rounds about a possible Star Trek Picard movie. It all started with an interview on Joshua Horowitz's Happy Sad Confused podcast, where Patrick Stewart dropped a tantalizing hint. He mentioned a script for the actor Patrick to perform being in the works, sending fans into a frenzy of speculation. But hold your horses, folks. Let's break it down. While many outlets jumped to the conclusion that this meant a Picard movie was in the works, a closer look at Stewart's conversation with Horowitz suggests otherwise. It seems like he might have been referring to a different project altogether, unrelated to the Star Trek universe. In fact, Stewart goes on to discuss Star Trek Picard as if it's a separate entity from the mysterious script he mentioned. And while Michelle Yeoh's Star Trek Section 31 movie is confirmed for Paramount Plus, there's no solid evidence to suggest that a Picard movie is in the pipeline. Sure, a Picard movie could potentially serve as a backdoor pilot for another Star Trek series, like Terry Matalas's rumored Star Trek Legacy, but for now, it's all speculation and hearsay. And that wraps up today's video. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Now, before we sign off, let's hear from you. With all these juicy Star Trek rumors flying around, what do you think? Are you hoping for a Star Trek Picard movie, or eagerly anticipating the Star Trek Origin flick? Maybe you're crossing your fingers for Star Trek 4 to finally hit theaters. Whatever your thoughts, drop them in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more updates. Until next time, live long and prosper.